The Chinese government affects all of us. Of course, we can look around and see the effects of the coronavirus and how it's pretty much affected everybody's life in one way or the other. This is, of course, squarely to blame on the Chinese government and the way they handled it in the beginning. Prove me wrong, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the hand of intimidation and censorship which is now sweeping the globe as a result of the Chinese government's inability to take criticism. I am very disappointed that there are very few people like me who are willing to go out there and actually criticize the bad policies of the Chinese government and the societal problems that result in mainland China. Again, not the people of China, but the government and the societal issues brought about by the government. And you can see this by every single person that I interview. They all want their faces blurred and their voices disguised. Why are people so afraid to speak up about the problems in China? Why is it that everybody is so cowardly that they cannot show their face? Well, it's very simple. The Chinese government has so much control, not only over people that are of Chinese origin, that grew up and were born in China, but foreigners too. Anyone who speaks out against the Chinese government or makes a remark that they don't like will get intimidated, coerced, and threatened into silence. Things like the NBA, Hollywood, you name it, you can see the influence everywhere, and we've spoken about this a lot. But the fact that the guests who come on and have conversations with me don't want to show their face proves, even if they're living in a safe country, that the all-reaching hand of the Chinese government is always present. For those of you who've been keeping track of the news, you would have noticed over the past week some very high-profile arrests in Hong Kong. Jimmy Lai, who's a media tycoon in charge of the Apple Daily, was arrested. In fact, it was comical. You had like 200 police turning up to his office just to arrest him, right? You had Agnes Chow, who's a human rights activist, a pro-democracy activist, arrested too. Now, for those of you overseas, far away from Hong Kong, you may not realize just how bad this is. Jimmy Lai, this media tycoon, was arrested for sedition, criminal fraud, and collusion with foreign powers. This is a thing that China has now. If you are caught colluding with foreign powers, who even knows what that means? You've got a friend who works in the police force in New Zealand. All of a sudden, you are colluding with foreign powers. They can make this stuff up. But this is a very, very in-your-face demonstration of what China wants. They want to silence, intimidate, and stop any criticism of the CCP and their one China ideal. These arrests have, of course, had a chilling effect on any sort of pro-democracy protests or outspoken activists and things like that, and rightly so. I mean, put yourself in the position of someone like myself, for instance. I now know that if I make more videos critical of the Chinese government, it's too late for me anyway, but let's just say I was thinking about making a video critical of the Chinese government. But I have business in Hong Kong, or I have friends and family in Hong Kong, or I have to travel through Hong Kong, right? As part of my travels to Japan or wherever. I would now think twice about making that video, because I know that if I get put on that list and I travel through Hong Kong or to Hong Kong, I could be arrested, detained for whatever. They can do the same thing. This also explains why even more people do not want to be seen publicly saying anything against the Chinese Communist Party. It's gotten to a ridiculous point now where if you speak out against the CCP, not only do you put your freedom and your family's freedom at risk, but they also put together campaigns to try and shut you down using Western laws. It happens to me all the time. It's quite ridiculous the amount of effort that goes into trying to silence this one little YouTuber. All these people that are rallied together to criticize me and expose me and call me a racist and do whatever they can to try and shut me down. It's mind-blowing how much effort the CCP is putting in to silence any kind of voice against them. It's childish, it's ridiculous, and it's laughable. But at the same time, it's scary because they're very effective. Anyway, because of this new law, I decided I would get somebody who personally knows Jimmy Lai into a conversation. And I can't reveal who she is, but she knows the situation fairly well, and we had a little conversation over Skype. So let's head on over to that.
Okay, so we'll start with the law in itself. I think they literally bypassed so many different sort of facets of the Constitution, because you've got to remember Hong Kong SAR, literally special administrative region. So where we have, a tricameral parliament where we've got the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, which basically is like a stopgap for anyone trying to abuse power. They say that they have that. Like mainland China says that they even have a written constitution, but they don't enforce it, because if one guy is judge, jury, and executioner, how do you really enforce a tricameral constitution?
Yeah, that's the thing about mainland China, though. They have many things in their constitution, but they only put them there so that if the outside world scrutinizes them, they can say, look, it's like freedom of speech is in our constitution. But actually, it's not in their constitution. It's bullshit. It's there, but you cannot have freedom of speech. It's not possible. You'll just get nailed to the cross if you try.
Exactly. And, a lot of my friends who are actually in the legal industry, Hong Kong is a transit hub, through to the rest of Asia from pretty much any Western country in the world, unless you want to fly 2 or 3 days. If you do a regular flight on like Emirates first or something, that's a transit hub to China, to Kuala Lumpur, to Singapore, where, to Japan, Korea, where most of us do business in the APEC region. And, we have actually basically come out and basically just told the truth to so many news channels, news agencies, not me personally, but, friends of mine. And so what it happens is, now with this new law, Section 17A actually says that any person, whether he's a foreigner, whether he's transiting, whether he's a tourist, it doesn't have to mean you're Hong Kong individual who has been found to say libelous things, they said like commit libelous acts against Hong Kong and its people, will be basically tried under this new law, and the penalties can be very severe. You can inherit a penalty of up to life imprisonment for treason. And if I'm looking at treason, my understanding of treason is something completely different. If you look at a person like Julian Assange, for example, he's committed treason in the purest sense, in that he leaked classified government military information about lily pads, which are hidden military industrial complexes around the world from a government, in order to protect the people on that island. Like, for example, America has it in Japan, or in South Korea, so that the North doesn't attack them. It's like you don't disclose that because you're trying to protect the people in that area. He's disclosed all of that. So now anybody with half a brain can go and nuke that place, and the whole country is basically, that is treason.
Right.
But in that is like treason in the full legal sense of the word. Leaking government information, leaking military secrets, stuff like that. But what they're identifying as treason is basically anything you say that they don't like. If you say, you know what, the Chinese government is a piece of shit, there's no freedom of speech, look at this clown, what is Carrie Lam doing in power, she's a I'm not committing treason, I'm just mouthing off, and they could say, well, that this person has committed treason. And if that's the case, I think everybody who I've ever known in my life is probably guilty of treason in some form.
Yeah,
so
it's an
absolutely
excuse.
Ridiculous.
Basically, you have a situation here where the Chinese government can, just at will, take somebody that they don't like and shut them up by saying, oh, you committed treason, and, lock them up, take them into the mainland, do whatever it is they want to do. And it's incredibly scary, especially for the people of Hong Kong, They've been living their whole lives there, and they've always had this separation between Hong Kong and the mainland. They've always had the law on their side, but that's now completely eroded. You know what I mean?
Well, I also feel like China, in a way, is really trying to blow smoke. A lot of the things they say, for example, they say, well, we will invalidate the passports of dual British Hong Kong citizens because, Britain had come out, well, the UK had come out and said that, okay, we will extend an olive branch to these people. We will give them a chance to come to the UK, even if they don't have jobs, as long as they have the dual nationality and settle here on a special program. And then, the Chinese government would carry lamb's little lapdogs, basically. We're trying to say that we will make sure these passports are invalid. Now, by law, that's complete bullshit, because if the person is a dual citizen of the UK and China, nobody can invalidate or revoke citizenship except for the country where your passport is issued from. They may be able to revoke your Hong Kong citizenship, but if they're on the way out as basically a undocumented refugee on a special visa, the special visa they're talking about is the K-17, it's a refugee settlement visa. So these people are not looking to come back. So what? Take the Hong Kong pass. They don't want it. They think that people don't understand this, and they're trying to scare people so that they don't subvert and that they don't actually try to leave. Yeah. And let me tell you now, the new law has a few key provisions. There are crimes of secession, subversion, terrorism, collusion with foreign forces, and treason. Right. And all of these are punishable by a maximum sentence of life in prison.
Right.
And something as small as they would say, for example, if you were to make a poster saying "Free Hong Kong, Liberate Hong Kong," you stuck that poster on a wall, I don't know, and in Kowloon DIFC district or whatever finance district, they will say under the subversion subsection 2, this is considered damaging public facility, and a damage to a public facility, falls into one of those categories. So because they have left it so open-ended, literally anything you do, if you breathe too hard, they can be like, oh, this is, I don't know, they make something up and put it in there. It's really ridiculous, and the law is completely flawed. And, honestly, there's also a section in any constitution, in any democratic country, that the punishment has to fit the crime.
Yeah.
And, in order for a person to be convicted of secession, subversion, terrorism, collusion with foreign forces, and treason, you've got to be pretty fucking bad. Yeah. You've got to do something, Julian Assange level.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's the go-to thing is every time a Chinese person, or not even a Chinese person, anytime someone speaks up against the CCP, one of the things they always say is like, oh, he's being influenced by the CIA, or he's being, foreign forces are influencing. You know how often they say that about me? They're like, he works for the CIA pay him. Come on, I mean, I'm a South African. How am I working for the CIA? So do you have a message for the people of Hong Kong that we can put out there? Because I try to send my support to them, at least morally, as much as possible.
Yeah, listen, you've got to stand strong. I think a lot of people are behind you. It's a hard fight, but in the end, I think good will win. And, it's important to make your voices heard. It's important to keep fighting.
It's been fantastic to have you on. It's always good to have you on as a guest. And
likewise,
I really do hope that this message gets out to more people, and I'm looking forward to having you on the next time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for watching, guys. Please, now is the time to speak up. It doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. It doesn't matter if you're a leftist, if you're a rightist, if you're a centrist, if you're a whatever you want to be. I think we can all agree that being forcefully shut down for having an opinion that goes against the government is never a good thing. Just imagine if you were not allowed to criticize Trump, or you were not allowed to criticize Trudeau or Morrison or anyone. If you literally went out there on the internet and you typed something like Donald Trump sucks, and you get your social media accounts banned, you get put on a list, and you get people coming to arrest you if you get too vocal about it. Or if you try to organize a peaceful protest against Hillary Clinton or against Morrison or against any government figure anywhere in the world, and you get shut down and you get arrested and your family gets put under house arrest. Just imagine, it is that bad in China. It is. Show me one person in mainland China who can get together, a little group of people, to say Xi Jinping sucks and hold up a sign. Anyway, I want to personally say a big thank you to everybody who has the courage to speak out. We're part of a very unique, small club and I hope more people join. Anyway, thank you for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video, and until then, you know the drill. Stay awesome.